The series begins with Go Min-yu, a naive girl who aspires to be a nun despite causing herself many problems. Later, Go Min-yu notices that she is being watched by a stranger, and when he starts following her, Go Min-yu screams, but he pulls out a picture of a young man, and tells her that her twin brother, Go Min-nam, was accepted into the famous Korean band Angel. But he had an accident and she must take his place, and despite her objection, the man begs her to agree. On the other side, we see one of the most famous and successful Korean bands, Angel. After the show, their manager tells the band leader, Tae, that his vocal cords are tired and he should rest. Go Min-yu disguises herself as Go Min-nam, and after signing the contract, Tae drags Go Min-nam and threatens to cut up the contract if her voice is not good, but Go Min-nam manages to amaze everyone with her voice. Although Go Min-nam aspires to be a nun, she remembers her brother's dream of becoming a singer, so that her mother can return to them, so she decides to take his place until he returns. At her first concert, it became clear that Tae was not comfortable with their new colleague. After the show, Go Min-nam is forced to drink for the first time in her life, so she gets drunk and heads to the roof. Tae thinks that Go Min-nam wants to throw herself, and he saves her so that she falls on top of him and kisses him. The next day, Go Min-nam regains consciousness and remembers what happened, and when she goes to apologize to Tae rejects her apology and kicks her out, but she bumps into her music cassette rack and stops her before she falls. When Tae enters the room, he finds Go Min-nam in this position and becomes angry with her, but a statue falls on her head, knocking her unconscious. Tae quickly grabs the statue and then his friends enter to see this scene. Go Min-nam is taken to the hospital and rumors spread that Tae tried to kill Go Min-nam because he was jealous of her presence on the team, and they wanted her to be kicked out, but Go Min-nam does not care about the rumors. She returns to the room and tries to clean it, but Tae takes her out while he is angry. Go Min-nam begins her training, and before one of the concerts, Tae sees her on the security camera with the fashion designer, and they are talking about her being a girl. Tae is shocked by this, and goes to her to hug her to make sure for himself, but the press films them and spreads the news that Tae and the new singer have reconciled. But Tae's intention is to expel Go Min-nam from the team, and he actually goes to confront her and tells her that he took a video of her confessing that she is a girl, and she must leave the team, but Go Min-nam snatches the phone from him and runs to the roof. And they both start chasing each other for the phone until it falls on top of a truck. Tae carries Go Min-nam to go up and get the phone, but the car moves, so Tae tells her to jump, and Go Min-nam actually jumps crying, but Tae protects her with his body, but he scolds her because he was exposed to danger because of her. After returning to the house, one of the members named Chen treats Go Min-nam tenderly and bandages her wound, even though he thinks she is a young man. The next day, Tae meets Go Min-nam by chance, and hides her before anyone discovers her, so Go Min-nam tells him her story and that she is doing this so that their mother can return to them. Although Go Min-nam begs Tae, he gives her a chance to leave, otherwise he will expose her. At this time, we know that Tae is complicated about his relationship with his mother, and that she is a famous singer and the woman whose songs were on the shelf that Go Min-nam dropped, so he became angry at her. Although he met her in the elevator and she tried to talk to him, he told her that he did not want to see her because she had abandoned him before. Returning to Go Min-nam, she decides not to give up and follows Tae to beg him. She gives him a ring that her mother gave her, and tells him that it is the most precious thing she owns, and asks him to keep it until her brother returns or her mother appears. But Tae throws the ring into the water and tells her that she will never find it and that she will never find her mother, so Go Min-nam shouts at him and goes looking for the ring, so Tae challenges her that if she finds it, he will allow her to stay on the band. Go Min-nam keeps looking for the ring all night, and when Tae sees her, he opens his hand and shows the ring, and that he did not throw it away at all. The next day, Tae discovers that Go Min-nam is still searching, so he feels guilty and tells her that he has the ring. Contrary to what he expected, Go Min-nam hugs him crying, and thanks him because he did not throw away the most precious thing she owned. Tae allows Go Min-nam to remain in the band, and Go Min-nam returns to training again without the team members noticing anything, except for Tae, who was standing outside the bathroom one day while she was showering so that no one would discover her. During swimming training, Go Min-nam is the last one to leave so that no one will see her, but some journalists enter and Go Min-nam jumps into the pool until she loses consciousness, but Tae saves her at the last minute. At home, Go Min-nam goes to check on Tae and thanks him for saving her and gives him food, but he expresses his resentment towards her because she causes him problems every time. On the other hand, the third band member, Jeremy, notices Go Min-nam's strange relationship with Chen, and he cannot understand their relationship. When he confronts Gominem with a question about it, Gominem is surprised at what he thinks, so he sprays water on her, but Chen saves her, sprays it on him, and begins to dry her hair. Gominem then tries to get a distinctive signature for herself, so she asks Tae how to write one, but he makes fun of all her designs. However, after she leaves, he begins to design one for her himself, but Gominem returns, telling him that Chen helped her get a design. Tae feels upset and goes to her room to get the design he had previously made for her, but he moves her head and Gominem falls on top of him, so he leaves the room nervous. The next day, Gominem gets lost in the photography studio and accidentally enters the room of the singer, Ron, and as soon as she sees her, she tells her that Tae is one of her biggest fans and that he also keeps her songs, not knowing that she is Tae's mother. At this time, we see a woman who had been searching for Gominem for a long time, but Gominem was unable to see her. However, she thought it was her mother, so she asked the assistant to search for her to find out where her mother was. The assistant manages to find her and asks her about Gominem's mother, while Gominem is at this time with Tae before the concert, holding her phone and telling him that she will find her mother soon and will leave the band as she promised him, leaving him frustrated about her separation. Gominem receives a message that her mother has died, which was seen by Tae. Gominem breaks down completely, which leads to everyone's sympathy, although they didn't know what was happening. Tae tries to cover Gominem up, and tells them that because her fear of the live show. Tae then hugs Gominem to relieve her, and tells her to leave the studio and he'll hide it, and Gominem finds no other way but to return as a girl to sneak out without being caught. At the moment Tae sees her, he gets mesmerized by her beauty, but he pulls her out anyway. Tae tells his friends about Gominem's mother's death, and they all hold a party for her, but Chen was the most one to be close to her, which makes jealousy hits Tae's heart. Despite that, Gominem thanks him for all what he did. But Chen stays closer to her, he even invites her out to a restaurant. At this time, the manager of the team takes Tae to meet Ron to make a song together, not knowing that she is Tae's mother. Tae was uncomfortable of that, and he moreover gets allergic to the food which she ordered, and goes to bathroom to vomit. In this moment, Gominem asks Chen to go to the bathroom, and she sees Tae vomiting there, and she remembers when it happened before when she made him food that he was allergic. Gominem goes to check on him, and takes him out leaving her date with Chen, and Tae was surprised that she still remembers his allergy while his mother doesn't. Then, Gominem discovers that the woman who told her manager about her mother's death is her aunt. She tells her that she will take care of her, she even goes to the house to stay with her, which leads Gominem to choose Tae's room to stay with him, as he the only who knows her true identity. But Tae was nervous of the idea, but he has no other choice. After that, Gominem was asked to sing solo but she was afraid too. However, Tae tells her to sing or leave, so Gominem actually leaves. When Tae knows, he goes crazy and rushes to stop her, telling her that her aunt will discover her reality. Gominem agrees to go back, but she asks him to deliver her to the church to meet her friends there. But out, he receives a call from a famous actor he hates called Hae, telling him that he was pictured with Gominem when they were escaping from the studio before. Tae panics and goes to her, but he discovers that she was lying, just because she suspects Gominem's identity from the beginning. Tae quarrels with her, but they were pictured by someone. At this time, Gominem goes out but didn't find Tae, but instead sees a post claiming that Tae is on affair with the actress. Gominem walks down the street with no destination, but she receives a call from Chen, and he keeps following her, guiding her where to go. Just when Chen wanted to confess to her, Tae calls her to pick her up. Chen feels broken, and we discover that he knows that she's a girl, and for a long time he loved her, without telling her. Hae asks Tae to have a real relationship, even if it is in front of the press, because it will increase their popularity, but he refuses, so Hae threatens him that she will expose Gominem if he does not do so. Tae is terrified by the idea and kisses her in front of everyone, and Gominem, who feels broken because she loves Tae, sees them, and didn't know that he tries to protect her. After that, Tae takes Gominem to her village to visit her father's grave, and before she arrives, Ron was there, telling him that she will sing the song he wrote. When Gominem arrives, she finds that there are flowers, so she knows that someone was here, but she was gone before Gominem reached her. On the other hand, Tae is enjoying his time because none of the villagers know who he is, but a wild boar starts chasing him, so he runs away. When Gominem searches for him, she finds him hiding from the pig and laughs at him. In the evening, Hae arrives at the place, spoiling the moment that Tae was spending with Gominem. Tae is forced to drive Hae to the city, and tells Go-mi-nem that he will come to pick her up tomorrow, but she waits for him in vain until her aunt tells her that there is someone waiting for her. When she goes, she discovers that it is Chen who is trying to comfort her, even though she is crying. When she returns with Chen, she begins recording the song, and when she sees Tae, her feelings stir, so she sings with great feeling, and when she finishes, she cries, so Chen comforts her, and Tae sees him and feels jealous, but Go-mi-nem leaves him, regretting her feelings, even though she knows that he is in a relationship with Hae. After that, there is a photo session for the band in a school, and there, Go-mi-nem meets her brother's friend, who hugs her thinking that it is him, which makes Tae very angry. When they sit down to eat lunch, the young man confesses to Go-mi-nem that he likes his sister, and Tae feels that he is getting angry. On the way back, the young man sees Go-mi-nem's shoes and knows that this size is small, and is not for a guy. When Go-mi-nem and Tae leave, she tells him that she forgot her shoes with the young man, and when she returns, she finds him with a journalist asking him about Go-mi-nem's twin sister. It becomes clear that the young man has learned Go-mi-nem's identity, and despite that, he did not say anything about her, so Go-mi-nem feels relieved. After that, Go-mi-nem accidentally opens a package of Tae, and discovers that it is his birthday. At the same time, Ron calls Tae to go to her. Tae thinks that his mother has remembered his birthday, but he is surprised that she asks him for an interview with a journalist, so Tae refuses the interview, leaves her, and goes out. Ron goes to scold him, but he tells her that he does not forgive her because she abandoned him, but she tells him that she also does not forgive him because he was the reason she lost the person she loved most. Go-mi-nem was listening to the conversation, and learns that Tae is Ron's illegitimate son, so she does not know what to do, but she finds that he is crying, so she tries to comfort him as much as possible, and apologizes for opening the package. Go-mi-nem congratulates Tae on his birthday and takes him to celebrate with him. Upon returning, Go-mi-nem hugs him and tells him that he is strong and special, and Tae gets nervous of her clothes. In a filming session for one of the series, Hae sees Go-mi-nem carrying a hairpin that Tae bought her, so she tries to embarrass her in front of everyone, saying, "What does a hairpin do to a young man?" But Chen and Jeremy go to defend her. In the evening, they are all at a nightclub, and Hae has stolen Go-mi-nem's hairpin. Then she goes out to her wearing the hairpin, and Go-mi-nem becomes upset because she cannot express her lust for it. However, Tae tells Hae that he is the one who bought this hairpin for Go-mi-nem, and he takes it back. Because she was upset, Hae forces Go-mi-nem to go out and sing in the theater, then drops water on her to expose her, but Tae comes out with a tablecloth, wraps it around her, and goes out with his band members to sing together. But Hae confesses to Go-mi-nem that she knows her truth, and threatens her to stay away from Tae or else she will expose her, so Go-mi-nem agrees, fearing for the team's reputation. In the evening, Go-mi-nem has a high fever, and when Tae finds out, he takes her as quickly as possible to the hospital, but she refuses to go in, so as not to reveal her identity, so Tae shouts at her, but he complies with her in the end, returns her home, and takes care of her there. As for Ron, she is searching for Go-mi-nem and her brother. It turns out that she had a relationship with Go-mi-nem's father and that he wrote a song for her, and she promised him that she would find his children. At Hae's, she threatens Go-mi-nem to confess to the team, otherwise she will expose them, so Hae decides to wear a girl's clothes and go out to confess the matter and take responsibility in a press conference. Because Tae knows what she is planning, he asks them to search for her, and before she goes out on stage, Chen hugs her, telling everyone that she is his lover. The team learns that Go-mi-nem is a girl, so Tae tells Hae that the team has known, so there is no need to pretend that he is her boyfriend again, so Go-mi-nem learns that he was defending her from the beginning. After learning the truth, Chen begins to get closer to Go-mi-nem without restrictions, which makes Tae constantly angry with them, and Go-mi-nem does not know what caused him to be like this, and no matter how much she tries to reconcile with him, he is not satisfied. Chen decides to confess his love to Go-mi-nem, but Tae tries to stop her from going to the date, but Go-mi-nem shouts at him that why does he care about her if he ignores her. She leaves him and heads to Chen, but she returns to see him with Hae, who asks him about his relationship with Go-mi-nem, and because he is afraid for her, he tells her that he sees her as a man and does not love her, so Go-mi-nem is broken. But, at home, she feels that she misses him. Tae notices that Go-mi-nem has hurt her head, so he applies medicine to her, and asks her not to touch her eyes, but Go-mi-nem has touched her eyes, so Tae washes it, and helps her get to bed. On the other hand, Ron arrives at Gomi-nem's aunt's and tells her that Gomi-nem's father has divorced her mother because of their relationship and that she feels guilty and wants to reach them in order to give them half of her wealth. In the morning, Gomi-nem is dressed as a girl on the filming site, but one of the journalists is about to see her, so she runs away. Tae searches for her everywhere and finds her sitting crying, so he decides to finally confess his feelings to her, and Gomi-nem confesses to him as well. Gomi-nem's aunt asks her to meet Ron, saying that she is her mother's friend, and when Ron sees her, she is surprised because she is a girl, and thinks that she is deceiving Tae in order to take revenge on her for what she did to her mother. However, she gives her a gift, treats her kindly, and asks her not to tell Tae that she is the composer's daughter, whom she was in a relationship with him. Tae spends a lot of time happily with Gomi-nem, until her aunt confesses to Gomi-nem that Ron was the one who took her father, and caused her mother to die out of grief for him. Gomi-nem is shocked, and goes to confront Ron, who confesses the matter, but she did not know that Tae was hearing them. Then his mother takes advantage of the opportunity, and tells him that Gomi-nem is the daughter of the man she abandoned him for. Tae leaves Gomi-nem, blaming her for keeping it a secret from him that she knows his mother. Gomi-nem decides to leave the band, but Chan and Jeremy prevent her. While Tae searches for the identity of Gomi-nem's mother, he then meets her, and gives her her picture. Gomi-nem cries because she finally knows her identity, then tells him that she will leave soon because her brother is coming, and she will leave forever. Tae is able to reach the truth, which is that his mother was not in a relationship with Gomi-nem's father, but rather was trying to get closer to him, and she stole the song he wrote for her mother. He goes to tell Gomi-nem the truth, and Gomi-nem cries, and tells him that he is not at fault for what his mother did, and that she loves him, but she refuses to return to him despite his begging her, and leaves him. Gomi-nem's brother returns, and Gomi-nem decides to leave, but Tae's mother apologizes for what she did and tells her that she loved her father, but he was loyal to her mother even after her death, and Gomi-nem asks her to ask Tae for forgiveness for abandoning him. Gomi-nem prepares to return to church, but Chen asks Tae not to give up on his love for Gomi-nem. Ron goes to Tae also, and asks for his forgiveness, and tells him not to abandon Gomi-nem. Tae goes out on stage and sings her father's song to Gomi-nem, and when he sees her, he hugs her and takes her home, and tells her that he will never abandon her. This is all for today's drama, and I hope you like it.